The delight that British newspapers have taken in upsetting the governing elite has rankled with the powerful for decades. From the 19th century Times thundering against the mismanagement of the Crimean War, to today's Sun exposing the failures of bureaucrats to deliver safe streets and clean hospitals. The willingness of British newspapers to take on the authorities has been as characteristic as the elitist outrage it has always evoked. It remains the proper job of the media, as a campaigning journalist once observed, to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. That's wise, and it's right, and it's part of our compass. The elites, of course, learn from their mistakes. The advent of radio and television allowed them the opportunity to exert the kind of grip through control of access to spectrum that had never been possible with newspapers. They created a state system which both stifled innovation, but crucially for them, institutionalized a collective groupthink in broadcast communications. So we had for many years a vibrant and diverse newspaper sector, but a stagnant television oligopoly that was bland, uncontroversial, and deferential, if not to politicians, then certainly to the bureaucratic zeitgeist of the given day. So the response from the establishment when Sky launched was partly fear of what might happen now that more choice was available, and partly derision, because of course no one could possibly want anything other than 4 television channels, 3 state-owned, all saying much the same things. Now, as we know, the reality turned out to be rather different. And although others must judge, I would argue that a wholly commercial television company, entirely reliant on the choices made every day by its customers, had to be much more innovative and in tune with the values of the nation from the very beginning. It was and is answerable to its customers in a far more direct sense than provided through a hypothecated tax, a board of trustees, or some such other abrogation of accountability. That's not the way some critics argue. They believe that the increase in the bandwidth and connectivity that enables huge choice for individuals is a process which does indeed transfer power. But they see this transfer as from elected politicians to various, and they would say nefarious, media and communications firms, which have become the new powers in the light-speed tumult of our contemporary information economy. This is their argument against consolidation and for greater regulation, largely of traditional media, in a hyper-competitive environment. I think we can challenge this and show that it is not only wrong on the facts, but dangerous in its implications. First, it ignores the absolute power of competition. What makes a company successful is how it copes with competitive markets in which people have a choice. That competition is today at a level more intense than it has ever before been, because the barriers to providing information in the virtual world are so low, and the choice of provider nearly infinite. Incumbent interests, private or state-sponsored, may not like it, but people remain thirsty for choice. New providers are constantly breaking through. But also because it ignores the bigger picture. Without a free, unmolested media, there can be no genuine free society. A democracy can only be effective and judicious if its decisions are clear to the general public, debated, challenged, and scrutinized. As the Romans established, the fundamental question to understand when examining any decision is who gains? And a free media allows that question to be put. This is the context in which I think it's best to look at News Corporation, the company where I work. It was born from a struggle to make a success of a single newspaper in Adelaide, Australia, in the face of an established, richer, and aggressive incumbent. We grew through a mixture of risk, investment, and dedication that revived some once great but ailing newspapers, like the Times or the Sun, for example, and gave them a future. We recognized the complacency that infected broadcasting in the US, the UK, and other markets, and we shook them up. The basis of our growth has never been the creation of a monolithic view of the world. Our compass has been about empowerment and choice. We are restless, we are questioning, and we are individualistic. Our values spurred us to pit Homer Simpson against Bill Cosby on Fox Broadcasting in primetime, to launch TG24 against Rai and Mediaset in Italy, to make the New York Post what it is today and the Wall Street Journal what it will be tomorrow. At every step of the way, we've learned a little bit more about our customers and what they want, and now increasingly about what they believe in. We've learned through experience what difference the new empowered world means for our relationship with them. This is not a question of scale, it's a different way of existing. At first, we perhaps saw technology as a great opportunity for brands to talk to more people in the same old way, but that was wrong. Connectivity doesn't mean just that you get a lot more chances to deliver messages about customer service and pricing plans. This isn't one-sided. It enables people to talk back. The etiquette queen, Miss Manners, once suggested that if we stopped communicating so much with each other, we might be able to have a conversation. In fact, today we can have almost an infinite series of conversations. And this changes our whole idea of marketing. That's why complaints about the attention deficit of modern consumers are in reality admissions of something gone badly wrong, a listening deficit on the part of brands. Trouble cutting through to them might have more to do with the fact that one's brand's values aren't in tune with those of the modern consumer. Of course, the idea of values-based marketing and dialogue with the customer isn't new. But we're all guilty of talking a lot about them and then still falling into the familiar routines, the 30-second television advertisement, the great poster campaign, the PR stunt, the conventional tools of commercial sloganeering. There is a handful of campaigns that are driven by real values. A good example is Dove's campaign for Real Beauty. But they're famous because they're so unusual. Anyone who's seen the latest execution of the Onslaught film, which focuses on the pressures that a young girl faces from the beauty industry, can see that values-based, challenging marketing is extraordinarily powerful. And the fact that this ad was made by Dove, a leading participant in the same industry, isn't a weakness. It gets people talking and thinking. It's challenging. That level of engagement is great for any brand because it creates the opportunity to learn things about how people think and about how people feel. Some of you might have seen the big advertisements from Friends of the Earth this week attacking the Dove brand for the use of palm oil. Now, a lot depends on how Unilever responds to that, but at least they will do so from the position of a brand which has a track record of consistent values. And I expect they'll welcome the chance to respond with the same discipline, because that builds trust with their customers. Now, part of trust comes from good old-fashioned values like customer service, like transparent pricing, like treating customers fairly. These are fundamental. But people rightly expect more of companies these days, and we should be ready to respond. If we can consistently show how our values and our compass guide our business, then we will stand out from the superficial corporate makeover or the cynical marketing sleight of hand. Customers may be concerned about education or health or the environment. So are we. They may worry about crime. So do we. And they expect their chosen brands to be aware of those concerns and to respond to them. We should all want to work in places that hear and then do something about it. When we take some direct action, we get a powerful customer response. The Sun recently offered a free, energy-efficient light bulb to every reader. 4.5 million light bulbs were distributed. And the paper sold over 400,000 extra copies on that day. Readers recognize we're engaging with them on issues that matter deeply. The future belongs to brands that do more than pay lip service to real dialogue and recognize that their consumers want them to believe in something. It's tough out there at the moment, but choppy waters are usually those times when innovation makes a difference and outstanding marketing has a real impact. And the way in which society is changing means that good marketing people are going to have a seat at the top table. They're the people that companies will need to succeed. People who respect and listen to their customers. People who see that they can create value by understanding values. People who get freedom and celebrate it as an opportunity for genuine dialogue. People who have a compass and steer by it in good weather as well as bad. These are the people who understand there has been no better time than today, simply to do their business better. So thank you very much for listening. Bye.